Okay, was that loud enough for you? Okay, now that I've vacuumed the brush out, this is a soft stainless brush. I want a pretty substantial brush to try to get these particles lifted up and brushed off the ski, because they do well embed themselves a bit. I don't want to go and be so aggressive as to use a stiff stainless that will etch microstructure at this point, but I'm just going to brush the ski. I'm watching a little reflective particles that almost appear as if they were a piece of glitter or something. And, you know, there'll be a lot more brushing on these skis before it's all over, but I don't want to further press any of these particles into the base of the ski while I'm doing the base work. Not going to get too paranoid about a teeny little piece embedded in there, like say at the moment. Hell, maybe it'll act like a piece of graphite and help ground the ski out, but we're looking pretty good here now. Definitely had some particles there. Looking good. Always brush with your steel from tip to tail in the direction of travel of the ski. Okay, there we go. I'm not sure what the guys do that ski both directions. Ha ha ha, joke. I'm sure, well, probably wouldn't matter which way. When they're skiing backwards at 50 miles an hour. Anyway, so look good. Okay, so what I've got here is some base beveling tools. Okay, these are the Beast tools. These are the ones I like. There's a myriad of them. You can buy all different from manufacturers, but I really like this Base Beast. It's got a stainless steel glide on it, and that is what determines, you know, your height from the edge. This is a half a degree beveler. Maybe a racer, someone slalom skiing might want that half degree to no degree. Personally, I like a 1 on pretty much everything that I ski, and most of the people that I work for as well. I do have some snowboarders that ride the ramps, or the rails, I guess you call them, and I use this a 2 degree base bevel for them, which is very extreme for what some people might imagine, but they don't want to catch their edges when they get up and ride those pipes and things that aren't snow in those boxes. So on this ski, we're going to go with the 1 degree base bevel. We've got a 3 degree side. So, like I told you, we set the side edge first, because the way this works is this, there's a little edge here, and that runs against the edge of the ski. Now, this would be the edge of the ski, and then there's a distance to this piece, this metal piece. And now it doesn't matter if the ski curves or what it does. The distance from this to the edge of the ski is maintained by this little notch here. Okay, and this does not require any clamps. Okay, you don't need to clamp this Base Beast. I've seen people put a clamp right here. You don't need to do that. This is all done with your hands, your fingers. I'm not going to get all into how to use the Base Beast, okay? But just to let you know, you learn how to use it, and it's a killer tool. And again, I could mark these edges with felt pen like you see people do. I've learned how to work through reflection, and I definitely am not afraid to bevel slightly into the base material. Just ever so slightly as I work the ski and continue to work the ski, as I tune it more and scrape it more and the base material more. Anyway, a slightly long bevel, folks, give you a little more speed. And it really lets the water exit out from under the ski as well. Lifts those edges a little bit more up off the surface. So you make sure your file is in the proper direction. And as I said, if it's not in the right direction, you'll know it. Short strokes at the tip. I'm starting with the tip. I'm going to bring that reflection right to the P-Tex edge. And I want a consistent flat reflection. I don't want to see all these ups and downs and warblies that I'm seeing in this machined ski. So Don't try to do it all at once. Get your stroke. Now this ski, I guarantee you, was base bevel was basically none, because right now on a 1 degree I can see the file is only cutting the very outside, and I'm going to continue to cut it until I see that angle actually touch the P-Tex. And like I said, you might think I'm crazy, but I've been doing this a while, and I always bevel until I definitely see it actually hit the P-Tex, and works really good. Most of my skiers are carvers. They spend time up on their edge. Ski may float around a little bit on a flat run out, but that's typical of any of these modern skis nowadays that aren't straight like the old-fashioned things. What I'm doing is I'm blowing the filings off my file. I mean, you know, you want to keep your file clean as you go along here. Take your time right here. Remember how I talked about tips and tails? It's generally not quite as much of an issue on the base edge of most skis, but it can be, because again, the machine that they'll set these edges with at the factory will go meh, and then when it gets here, it can't quite curve around there. Okay, so pretty much you're going to have to really pay attention on the tips and the tails. You want to have a really nice ski anyway. Some people say, oh, that tip or that tail, it's not touching the snow, so we're not worried about that. Well, guess what, folks? When you go in and out of bumps and over bumps, or you're going into some deep wet or powder, whatever, yeah, trust me, the tips and the tails have a lot to do with everything. I don't ever neglect them for a second. I want my bevels to be consistent around the tip, around the tail, for the length of the entire ski. I don't want to see any freaking gouges from machines. It's going to take a little while. You see it coming up here better now. As I go and I start to develop a cut, I'll increase my pressure slowly, you know. Draw that pull. It's not looking too bad now, actually. There's always those places, though, that are really bad, that require you to file more of the ski from each, from one end to the other. See, I got that big gouge right here. And I don't like it, but it just means I need to file a little bit more here. Leading into the gouge, coming out of the gouge. If you feel like you got this area pretty good, you want to get the gouge out, but you feel like this side has probably had enough work, just work the tail piece, and then come back and go over the whole thing again, you know. You want to bring it all down to the exact same level. So important to have the interface between the P-Tex edge and the metal edge to be perfectly smooth, not to grab this way ever, like with a railed ski. Getting there. If you've got good light when you work from reflection, you'll get an eye for it. You need to put your eye in the right place, though. You know, that works for your lights. You put your eye in the place, you come down the ski, and you look. Don't concern yourself with a little bit of chatter from the file at this point. You're going to diamond stone the whole thing. You want to avoid chatter. Definitely want to avoid chatter. But what I'm seeing in this tip now is actually not even chatter. There's a little teeny ceramic wheel that runs around and grinds this thing for the factory. And as I'm working the edge down to be smooth, and I'm cutting off the high spots, I'm seeing those little grooves. I don't like those in a ski edge. I want my ski edge as close to chrome as I can get it. I do not like those little grooves in there from the stones that go around and around, or from belt sanders or anything like that. I don't need to get all that out with the file, because I am going to come back and stone these. And I can see I'm just starting to touch a little P-Tex now at a 1 degree. Oh yeah. Now we're coming into it. Okay. Still got a little bit of a gouge on this tail, and like I've said, sometimes, you know, you get a little spot there that it just may be excessively deep to, you know, to warrant to literally try to take the whole edge down to meet that one little spot, you know. It's unfortunate, but in subsequent tunes it may come along better, and it's not super serious, but I'm not liking that right there, so I'm going to work that a little more. The rest of the ski looks pretty good. There's no sidewall planing on your base edges, okay? What happens is you just start cutting literally into the P-Tex a little bit. And especially if you don't see it with your eyes, you will see it in the file. You'll see whatever the color of the plastic is. So anyway, don't get all paranoid if you see a little base material coming off when you're doing this, okay? Learn how to ride your edges. You'll be fine. You actually may find your ski turning easier and going faster than you ever imagined. So real bare right here at this tail. It's always the hardest part, going around the little curve here, okay? Take your time. You'll get it down. Don't worry about these little minute scratches you're going to see on the ski base. Remember, folks, those minute scratches amount to nothing but structure to pull the water out, okay? So, and that's what the heavy brushing is, to mellow the scratches. Heavy brushing is to actually make scratches in the ski. So don't get paranoid about that stuff. That's looking pretty good. Okay, now I don't really need to show you filing further on another edge, but I will give this one more pass. Don't like this tip part. Now, chances are, if this ski is kept well waxed, like it will be, because I bought it for my wife, this ski is not going to become railed. I mean, not for a long time, maybe never. But if the ski is not waxed well, it will become what we call railed. In other words, the steel part here, the steel edge will not wear that much as it runs through the snow as the plastic part of the edge. And if we do, if we are a good turner or skidder, or we get our skis on edge, we get a lot more work on the ski edge here. That's the plastic or the P-Tex that's next to the metal edge, so that wears down deeper than the edge. Okay, so then we have what we call a convex condition, or sort of a cupped ski. And sometimes you don't see that in the middle of the ski is so bad. Maybe sometimes you just see it just on the edge. But if you take your fingernail or something, you feel the ski and you come across it this way, and you feel the edge is higher, you can visibly see it. And then we have what we call our true bars, and we put the true bar on the ski and we see if it's flat. Okay, you know, a ski needs to be reasonably flat. Folks, if you're not racing World Cup, okay, it doesn't have to be freaking perfect, but you at least want the outer thirds to be. Main thing is you want that to be really flat. Like, even if this was a little cupped in the middle, I would want, like, it for this portion at least, like, you know, a third and a third or whatever, to be relatively flat and maintain, to make sure that okay, if the ski got really railed, I would file this edge down to death, and then when I was done, there would be a burr of P-Tex literally on the top edge. And then you take your metal scraper and scrape right on that edge, just really hard. Now, you don't use a real sharp metal scraper. In my other video, I've told you, my metal scraper is not super sharp. It's true. I don't like going back and constantly working plastic over. It's a pain in the butt. And I've found that a really sharp plastic scraper can do just as much damage. So a nice, smooth, and I'll hit this with sandpaper every once in a while, you know, make sure it's nice and true. And with that, I can come down, and it'll take me several passes with a lot of pressure, but I'll remove that P-Tex high spot that where it meets the edge. And it's a progression, you know, you work it this way, you work it that way, you come back, and then you work it some freaking more. Okay, so anyway, last step on the edges. Now, you can rotate the ski and turn it over and keep it on this side of you, okay, and work the other side edge. Now, it just depends. There's not any one way to do this. It depends on your ability and what you're comfortable with and what you've done, and can you hold the file square, and are you able to do that? In my case, I've done this a lot with the base beveler. So generally when I work my base edges, whether I'm stoning or I'm filing, I leave the ski the same way, and I'll show you how I do it. And some might say I'm crazy. Now, yeah, I can pull same way, same thing I was doing before. I was going to show you is I can also come back this way. I do this more with stoning than I do with filing, but I can push my base edge file and feel comfortable when I do it. And if you're tuning a lot of skis in a row, or working on a lot of skis in a row, you know, your hand will start killing you. So depending on how serious you are about it. Doggone it. Well, yeah, different bindings are harder. But this Beast Vise, I don't crank it down on the skis at all. That gives you a lot of room to work on your side edges and all that. Besides, the price was right.